Hello, it's Hermie Abraham from Advocation, and I wanted to jump on a quick video to discuss an item that I read in the news recently, and you probably have heard about it. It's with respects to some employees who worked at Baycrest Hospital, and 150 of them were dismissed from their jobs as a result of employee benefit fraud. So I wanted to jump on this video really quickly and discuss what circumstances would an employee risk losing their job based on a breach of trust, which is essentially the reasons why these employees lost their job. So just to give you the backstory, which I'll provide a link to the article, but these particular employees were engaging in benefit fraud, meaning that they were using the benefits program to obtain money from it. So an example was an employee might say that they need orthotics. They would go to an orthotics provider who would give them a receipt for orthotics. Ultimately, they would not get the orthotics. They would submit the benefit for it. They would get the money, and then they would kick some money back to the provider of the receipt, and they would pocket the rest. And so through their investigation, Baycrest found that $5 million went unaccounted for, or essentially was not used properly and was pocketed by a number of employees. 150 lost their job through the last firing in the article I read. However, I think that there are some people who voluntarily offered information and also ended their employment. And this is not only in Baycrest, it happened also in the TTC. And you do find situations where employees lose their job as a result of a breach of trust. So I wanted to talk about the breach of trust because very few people realize that when you join a workplace, when you join an employer, there's an implied duty in your contract that you are going to act in a trustworthy manner. And that trustworthiness can come at a very high price, which in this particular case with the Baycrest employees, they were dismissed as a result of the fact that they breached the trust. So what does a trust look like in an employment relationship? Well, it means that your employer can expect that you're going to carry out your duties in a forthright and honest manner. And it's not just your job duties, it's the assurance that you're making good judgments, not just ones that are, you don't have to make perfect judgments, but good judgments where you're not being deceptive, you're not being willful, you're not doing something that you know is blameworthy and wrong. And again, in a circumstance where you're dealing with theft or you're dealing with taking a benefit from the employer that for your own gain, those would be situations where your employer might not be able to feel that they can trust you in continuing your particular position. And so what does it mean if you do breach trust with your employer? Well, there are two types of ways that employees can be dismissed. They can be dismissed without cause, meaning that they've done nothing to bring about the end of an employment relationship, and the employer in those circumstances gives them a severance package, and they can be dismissed for just cause. And just cause is a situation where your employer says you've done something wrong, and as a result, you are not entitled to a severance package or a termination package or even any notice of your termination. The very day that your employer says is your last day is when you're leaving, and most times it's immediate. And in circumstances where people lose their job for just cause, they also risk being denied other types of supplementary benefits after their employment, such as employment insurance. So if you have lost your job for just cause, you won't get a severance package from your employer, but you might also lose your opportunity to get employment insurance. And so being terminated for just cause is very, very serious. It's a high threshold, but if somebody is breaching a trust of their employer, that threshold most likely is crossed. So if you're in a situation where you might have done something wrong, what's the best thing to do? Well, I'd say that the first thing you want to do, even though it might be incredibly scary, is to come clean. It's better that you can build trust with your employer by coming clean and explaining the wrongdoing that you've done, and also maybe even giving them a way that they can help you manage and deal with it, versus having them find out after the fact and feel that if they hadn't found out, you would have concealed it for as long as possible. if you can come clean and be clear about what you've done, have some kind of solution or strategy by how you can address the issue, you're going to build far more trust than you are going to break it if they find out. So that's the first thing, come clean. The second thing to do is, if there is an investigation where an employer is trying to get some information, be honest and forthright, and also take responsibility. You can do much more to garner trust and understanding if you are showing that you understand the wrongdoing. It might not still save your job, but the fact is it will help you far more than continuing to lie or deny or even deflect any kind of wrongdoing and not accept responsibility. So what I want you to take away from this video, that all employment relationships do have an implied duty of trust between the employee and the employer, meaning the employer needs to be able to trust the employee is going to do what they say they're going to do, and that they're going to act in a forthright manner and in the best interest of the employer. So that's the first thing. The second is, if that you breach trust, you can be terminated for just cause. And if you're terminated for just cause, you're not entitled to a severance package. And the third is that if you believe that you've engaged in conduct that is going to be sufficiently serious enough that your employer might consider dismissing you, first, definitely speak to someone, get a sense of what you should and shouldn't be doing so you have a strategy and you're not going at it alone. But definitely do try to build trust by coming out, being honest and forthright, and giving your employer an opportunity to trust you again. So it's unfortunate for those 150 employees, some of which who had very long service, who could have had severance packages of multiple months, now are walking away with nothing. But again, a hard lesson, but an important one that hopefully the rest of us can learn by. So thank you very much. I hope you found this video helpful. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. I'll put our information in the links below so you can get in touch. Thank you. Goodbye.